Welcome to my home, aka the van, in another Walmart parking lot. We will be reselling there soon, but today we're actually going to be sending out a shipment. And even though you guys like to watch these videos, I see it in my analytics, I feel like I'm saying the same stuff over and over again. So today, as we run through the 7 different parts of a shipment, after every single time that we knock one of these stages out of the shipment, I'm going to answer one of your guys' questions that I just pulled from my YouTube account. Basically, I just searched shipment in my comments, and anything that came up that was a question, we're going to answer it today. These are the 7 things we're going to have to worry about today. Number 1, buying inventory in boxes. Most of the inventory is in the back of the van. We'll go check that out in a second, but I don't think we have enough boxes, so we might have to stop in Walmart and get boxes. The second thing is organizing the inventory and creating the batch. Most of that's already done, but we're gonna have to do a little bit more. The third is requesting shipments from Amazon on Inventory Lab. Fourth, delabeling my inventory, which I'm going to do after requesting the shipment. Fifth is boxing up no labels, because I don't label everything that I have. Some of my stuff needs a seller label, and some of it just uses the manufacturer barcode, and so I'll box those up first before I relabel the inventory that I need to label, and then pack all of that up. Last, we'll print out the Amazon and the shipment labels, and then we'll ship it out to UPS, but that's a bonus because I only had 7 questions in my comments, and it's like 5:15 tonight in Panama City Beach, and I think the UPS store closes at 7, so let's get started by getting the inventory from the back, bringing it to the front of the van, and getting boxes. But I need all the counter space I can, and that big old thing of dishes isn't gonna help. Let's go see how many boxes I have in the back of the van. Got right up in the grass. I see like 2 boxes. Definitely gonna have to buy some, but I'm gonna bring all this inventory into the van first to see how many I might need. Looks like 3 medium boxes and a couple smalls, but I don't know how they're gonna break it up, so let's go grab 4 mediums, 4 smalls. Then while we start to organize the inventory, we'll answer the first question. What do you think? Does this look? It's this one for sure. This is how you know you're in a tourist town. That's not good. They have only mediums, no smalls or anything, and they folded all of them. That's not the crease. I hate that they folded these, man. So, buying inventory in boxes is done. So that means we're going to answer the first question while we organize all this. And believe it or not, when you're shipping out a shipment from your van, you don't really have a lot of space. These questions are in random order. Probably a little smarter for me to put them in a different order, but we're not gonna. The first question is from Aaron Demoy. He said, I have a question. I would like to know/see your receipt organization. I have a hard time finding a receipt and returning an FBA item. How do you do it? And that's a good question. Let me clear out this pathway real quick so I can get to the back, because I just realized that I didn't actually bring everything into the van that I needed to have brought into the van. This bin holds not only my printer and poly bags and everything, my heat gun, my glue gun, but also the answer to your question that can probably be summed up by seeing that right there. Personally, Aaron, I don't do any FBM, which if you don't know is fulfilled by merchant, where you get the order from Amazon and you ship it out yourself. Because to do that, you would need storage space, and as you can see, I'm pretty lacking in that. But I did used to have a pretty substantial receipt organization system when I was doing eBay stuff. Oh my gosh. This is what it looks like now. Honestly, you just need to pick a day and just go through everything and start taking pictures of it so that I don't have to carry it around anymore, and then start taking pictures while I'm in the store. That would be the best way for me to do it, so that after I send out a shipment to Amazon, I can just throw out the receipts and keep the pictures somewhere saved, probably QuickBooks. But right now, as you can see, it's literally just that. If we look back a little bit, we'll see it's a lot more organized. These are all receipts that are from certain places. Actually, it's still pretty unorganized, but if we look back to last year, I might have taken them out, but I used to have a bunch of envelopes. Oh yeah, I totally took them out because I took pictures of a bunch of them. But I had envelopes that would have the date or the shipments, and I would keep the receipts there. Please let me know your receipt management system. If you have like a good app or something, I would love to know, because I need it. Now we're gonna have to organize all this stuff. I'm gonna organize it by stuff that I need to delabel and stuff that I don't need to delabel. That way it'll be easier for me later. And then once all that's done, we'll actually go into Inventory Lab. I already have shipments pretty much done, because as we've been shooting these past videos, we've been uploading all of our buy lists, because we've been doing it while we're in the stores. But I do currently have 2 separate batches that I need to merge together, and I need to change the address. Please don't let me forget to do that, because I forgot one time, and I said I was from Alaska, and I had to like pay triple the shipping prices, even though I was in Virginia, so they had me send everything over to California. So I have a bit of a problem here. I have too much inventory. I filled up all my spaces. Normally I can't fill up all my spaces when I lay it out, but I still have all of this left, and I filled up everything. I'm actually going to skip laying it all out and actually just go onto my computer real quick onto Inventory Lab and try to request the shipments. That way I can just find the stuff that I need to box up for my first shipment, and then we can do another one. So since I already have all my Academy stuff done, laid out that is, or in that bag. Oh, I forgot about my Gerber stuff. Where is that? Did I put it in here? Oh yeah, I put that in here. Alright, even more inventory. I thought I was forgetting something. Here on Inventory Lab, we're just going to go down to review batch, and we'll sync it with Amazon, and it's going to give us some proposed shipments. The reason that I don't actually have to organize all my inventory like I have been in the past couple of shipment videos that I put out is because I've started to actually input everything into Scoutify 2 while I'm there. I think I have a video coming out later this week that I'm filming about 2 ways that I'm really increasing the speed with which I am sending stuff into Amazon. And one of the main ones is by actually creating buy lists on Scoutify 2 and then sending them to Inventory Lab immediately while I'm in the store, just like this one from Dick's which I did already, and I'm just going to archive that. And I made that while I was inside of the store, as you've probably seen in some of my recent sourcing vlogs, and already I noticed on one previous shipment that saved me a ton of time. So here we got Amazon sending us 2 shipments, and the reason that it breaks this up is really annoying, and I think is a question that we're going to get to later, but it gives us a no label shipment and a seller label shipment. That's because I don't want to spend a lot of time labeling everything. I'm trying to save as much time as possible, so I have it set to only make me put labels on items that Amazon needs me to put labels on. But what's unfortunate about that is that Inventory Lab pulls from Amazon's API, and it for some reason can't combine that into one shipment like it can on Seller Central. I have done it before where I've just combined the shipments in Seller Central after closing the batch on Inventory Lab. For me personally, it's not worth the hassle right now. I'm okay spending a little bit more to make my life a little easier, so we're going to go ahead and just create these 2 shipments by clicking this create, yes create button on both of them. And this is the point of no return. After you create these shipments, you can't go back. You'd have to delete the whole shipment and pretty much start over. And then we'll real quickly do the shipments. Luckily, I don't think there's anything I'm going to have to delabel in the shipment, so let's actually just do that real quick, but not before answering a question. And the second question comes from Brian. It says, are there steps that we should be doing after shipping the items in? I'm a beginner. I feel like I'm a couple of steps away from making it work correctly. And honestly, I don't think that there are necessarily steps that you're probably missing, but there are going to be some best practices, and that would be after you ship it in, you want to make sure to set your repricer. If you already have a repricer, you might have it automatically set up, but some repricers you might have to do a little bit more manual work on. And then the second thing that I would do, Brian, is just make sure to check on your shipment for when everything gets in. We'll get to this in future questions, but not everything is going to become available automatically when it gets into Amazon. You'll especially have to worry about this during Q4 because Amazon has been taking forever to get stuff to the correct shipment location. And then the one last thing to check is another question that we're going to get to, and that's just making sure that Amazon checks in all of your items, and if they don't, trying to reconcile that shipment so that you can get the money back as a reimbursement from them. But real quick, I'm just going to pack up this second shipment. First, do the no label shipment, and that's going to be a lot of this fishing stuff. And after I've gone through and done all of that, I'm going to go into the seller label, and that's when I'll have to hook up my printer, but I'll show you that in a second. All right, so the first box is all ready to go. It's all of these 289 units that don't need a label. I did actually have to take some stickers off, unfortunately, but I was a little lazy, so I didn't actually plug in my heat gun, which is the main way to take stuff off, using a heat gun and then using Goo Gone afterwards. I just kind of took it off with the Scotty peeler and then used the Goo Gone if it needed anything. They weren't hard to take off because they were all from Walmart instead of being like these stupid Marshalls ones. So since I have everything in the same box, I'm just going to click this select all button and assign it all to one box, and I'm just going to kind of set it to the side for now, and later we'll go ahead and weigh it up using the scale that I have over in the corner over there. But we'll do that after we finish up this seller label stuff, which luckily isn't too many units, and I can honestly probably use this smaller box for it, but I do have to set up my printer, so let me show you that real quick. Alright, so we got everything set up here. We have our labels that run into the printer. If I click this button, it should print something. But on our computer, we do actually have to open up Inventory Lab Print. Once that's open, we'll be able to print out all of these onto our printer pretty automatically. It's a pretty simple process. We'll just take these headphones and I click on this, prints label, and since there's 3 of them, I'm just going to need to print 3 labels. When I hit print, it should print right here automatically for me, and then I'll throw these onto these skull candy things, which we bought in a previous video. And after doing that for all this stuff right here, we'll just throw it into another box and have all of that ready to go. We'll use the same printer for our 4x6 labels that we'll use to ship everything, and for the FBA shipment labels, that's closer to the last step. After we get this all boxed up, we'll start to delabel some stuff, and we'll get to a third question after I finish this box before we get onto the last 2 shipments that we're going to have to do. Hopefully it's only 2 shipments and it doesn't make me send it to 4 or 5 different places, but we'll see. All right, let me just say this is why I love Academy. These 2 boxes are like $900 of profit just about. They're gonna be so cheap to ship. We're just gonna do the same thing here though. Select all of them, assign them to a box. Now that they're there, we're going to transmit all the boxes into Seller Central. So to do that, we have to grab the weight and dimensions. Dimensions are on the box, but the weight will snag from a scale, and then it'll send all the information over into Seller Central, and we'll be able to print out our big labels, but we'll do that all together after we finish this shipment too. Let me just weigh these up, and then we'll get to the second question while we start the work of getting all the freaking labels off after we organize everything, because we have to lay out so much more inventory. 10 pounds. So we have been having to go a little bit off script. We'll just say we've gotten through the third one, and we'll answer that third question. That way we can delabel stuff and kind of get back on track by getting the fourth one done. Here is the third question. It comes from Louis. He says, can anyone provide advice on how to deal with goods sent not being received by Amazon? 5 of my units have gone missing. I will submit to research missing items. It asks for documentation, and all I have is store receipts. Has anyone gone through this? And yeah, Louis, I have done that before, and I actually just was able to use receipts. Let me go back through my shipments real quick to see if I can find an example, but I haven't had any problems when I've just shown the receipts, because I've shown that I purchased the item. That's not the same thing as asking for an invoice to prove that you can sell an item. It's just asking if you purchased it and sent it in the shipment or have any proof. And so it has worked for me when I've just sent in the receipts. Actually, I might have to do this right now. I have, so this is annoying. For some reason, sometimes Amazon does this as well. This is on one of my last shipments. I sent in some Nerf dog pet toys. I'm 100% sure I sent in the right amount. It says Nerf Dog 7-inch. Units expected 5, units located only 4. And then sometimes they pull this. Investigation completed, shipment contents counted and confirmed. That just can't be true because I sent 5 and there's really nothing you can do at that point. You can like give them feedback or whatever, or upload documents to research the shipment. But if it's just a couple units, I normally don't worry about it. I have had it happen where, I think it was one of my first shipments, they missed a whole box. Not just 1 or 2 units, but literally a whole box. Most of that box was books that weren't worth a lot, and so I actually didn't get a lot when they reimbursed me. I can't find it exactly, but I did end up just sending the receipt and got it done. So if they lose like a bunch of your units, you just send them in the receipts and it should be fine. But just 1 unit isn't that big of a hassle for me. It does feel like they're stealing from me, but I'd rather not deal with the stress of having to send that in. That's just me personally. If you feel different, that's totally fine. All right, let's take everything out of here because we have a lot of stuff that we're gonna have to delabel. We've been about an hour and a half at this shipment, which is not bad because we have about $850 of profit going out the door. But here's where the time is really gonna start ramping up. It's 7:31 now. I'm trying to get done by 10 o'clock. Not sure if that's possible, but let's do everything that we can to make it happen. First by organizing all this, and then by taking all the freaking labels off. Took just under an hour. It's 8:30 now, and I have 2 things that we need to talk about. First is these guys. You see that there's 6 of them here. There's actually 7 more over here. And I didn't notice in the store until just now, but this is why I'm always checking my inventory. They have different UPCs. They're very close. This one says it's deep colored, and this one is medium. Everything's already polybagged up. One other question, I don't know if it's in here, was whether or not I'll polybag different things like aerosols and stuff, and I will polybag stuff just as an extra precautionary measure, just in case it opens up, mostly for my own shipment, so it doesn't destroy everything else if something pops open while it's being shipped into Amazon. But then the second thing is that since I had this in here for a while and had a bunch of stuff on it, one of these little K-cup things got destroyed. Not destroyed, but I'm not shipping that in because the packaging is broken and you want the packaging to be perfect. So I'll just return that to Marshall's for my $5 back and put that into new inventory. But since everything is delabeled, we'll request the shipments here in a second. But first, let's go ahead and answer this 4th question? I think it's 4. And that question comes from Nerda. Trying to get myself started, I sent in a shipment and only one of the items says they're available. Also, don't go into Amazon forums. They all say RA is dead and very discouraging, but I'm going to keep at it. And that is true. The forums really suck. But let's real quick go over into Seller Central and I'll show you what they mean. I'm just going to go to my manage inventory page and we see right now some of this new stuff. It's inactive, out of stock, even though I have listings for it. And it's out of stock because I just created the listing and there's 0 available. But you see how that 0 is black? Oftentimes, when you send in a shipment, you'll have things that say 0 like this, where this old swivel, I'm trying to get rid of this as inventory because I've had it for over a year in my inventory, but you'll see it's 0, but it's blue with a little drop down. And I get this question a lot as to what happens to the inventory when you send it in. If you open this up, you'll see that you have a couple options: available, inbound, reserved, unfulfillable, researching, and total. Right now it just says reserved, but that can be for a bunch of different things. To figure out what it's for, click into the SKU here. We can see that down here by scrolling down a little bit and going to FBA inventory breakdown. It says 1 total, 1 reserved, and then in your reserved thing you have 3 options. You have customer order, FC transfer, or FC processing. Customer order is what happens when a customer orders it and they're just waiting to ship it out to the customer. FC transfer is normally where that will be. Always come into the SKU page and look at that if you have any questions. I get that question all the time. And then FC processing is what mine is in because it's waiting to do a removal order for it. But there are a couple other reasons that can be in there. I would always just go check your SKU page when you see that 0 and you're not exactly sure why. Normally it's just transferring from one fulfillment center to the other, which is totally normal and happens a lot during Q4. All right, let's head into Inventory Lab real quick and see what type of shipments it gives us. I'm really worried that it's going to give us like 4 or 5 different shipments. And one thing that I suspect while it's syncing with Amazon real quick is that it's going to have these 2 things be by themselves because they're aerosols. I was thinking I might get more aerosols, and if that's the case, I'm just going to give them back to Walmart and get my like $6 back because I don't want to have to deal with that hassle for just 2 items. I've done that a lot and I've like essentially given up all my profits just in the shipping costs, especially when I had to ship it over to Arizona. This is bad. We have 4 shipments, 2 normal ones just going to CLT2, which is Charlotte. Then we have 2 shipments that have 1 and 2 units respectively, just like I thought the 2 of those units. So I'm probably going to give that back. Actually, it looks like that doesn't expire until 2023, and this one expires after you open it for a specific date. So I'm just going to keep these in the van until I get a lot more kind of hazmat restricted items, because these would be hazmat for a lot of people if you're not approved for that program, which I got approved for a couple months back just by selling on Amazon for a while. So we'll keep these, delete them from the shipment real quick. I'll show you how to do that. At this point, you can still decline the shipments and go back. Here it is. We're just going to delete this out of this shipment. Delete. And then we're going to delete the copper tone ones as well. Luckily, they're pretty much prepped. We just have to make sure to add them to the next batches, and hopefully now we only have 2 shipments that it gives us. Just like I thought, 68 units going to CLT2 with no label, and 96 with the seller label. So we'll just create those real fast. Unfortunately, the boxes are going to be way too big probably. Actually, maybe not. We got a lot of cake ups today. Oh, I totally forgot about these. I need to take those labels off. I know since those have an expiration date that those are going to be seller labeled. So we're going to do the no label box first, get that done with, then answer a question, and then get to the seller label box. And then we'll pretty much be done. And it will have only been like 3 or 4 hours, hopefully. Awesome. Honestly, didn't take that long, 25 minutes. Got the box packed up. I have all of that stuff done, and now we just need to label everything that's still out in the van. And the last step is just going to be to change in these little labels out for the big 4x6 ones and putting it all next to the sink for tomorrow when I go take it to UPS. But before we get on to all of that, here is going to be the 5th question, I believe, and it's from Gina. It says, "Hey Anthony, great video. I'm following along as I send my first shipment using Inventory Lab. I'm printing the Amazon labels from a regular printer. Is there a way to get expiration date onto those labels? I have a few items with expiration dates, but they don't print onto the Amazon label." Honestly, I'm not quite sure. The way that I would do it is just to get a template for 30 up labels that you could just download offline and just type in the expiration dates themselves. If the expiration date's big enough on the product itself, as long as you don't cover it with your label, you should be fine. You can also write it out if you wanted to. I didn't do a lot of expiration dated stuff, and when it did have it, I just made sure it was big enough on the product. If you are printing off of Inventory Lab, like here on Inventory Lab, just click on the name, settings, and when you go over to printing right here, I talked about this when I set up my roller printer in that video, but you can have it set up to include the expiration date on these labels when they print out. But in terms of a normal printer, I think you have to get a template, unfortunately. All right, I'm gonna finish printing all those out, labeling everything up. Hopefully it'll be all packed up before about 9:30. We can get on with the 6th question, print all the labels out, and get on with the 7th. All right, literally just in time. It's 9:25 now, and we have everything pretty much done. We have one big box and one smaller box for a seller labeled shipment. Just one ASIN, which is kind of nice. Oh. Good thing everything's packed up pretty well. Now all we gotta do is go transmit those boxes. Pretty much the same steps that we did before. So while we weigh stuff, since we've completed number 6, relabel, inventory, and pack, because everything is packed up and my van is a mess. 6th question is from just a little Jay. What's going on? Jay's always in the comments as well. It said, "What does it mean when it says inactive listing after I send my first shipment in?" I haven't been doing as many shipment videos, so I think Jay already knows the answer to this question because that was also from 4 months ago. But it's pretty similar to what we were talking about earlier when we looked at the blue versus black zero. And I think I touched on it a bit, but to make it even more clear, your units being inactive just means that they're not at the place where they can be sold by Amazon yet. They can't be bought. This normally happens either when you send a shipment in and you're waiting for the inventory to get checked in because your listing will still be created. For instance, that thing that we saw the black zero on is still in my van in that box, but it still says inactive out of stock on Amazon. And it'll stay that way until stuff gets into Amazon, because what happens is we take all this inventory. Actually, let's use this. So what happens is the inventory goes from the van into Amazon. FC1 is what we'll call it. And some of your stuff will get sold out here to the customer. But the problem is, especially because all of these are going to the exact same fulfillment center, they're all going to Charlotte, and that probably means that they're going to get to Charlotte in probably 3 days and then be sent from that center to a bunch of other ones. So it'll go to maybe one in Ohio, where I'm from. Maybe it'll get shipped all the way to California. That's a 3. And who knows where the last one will go. But as your inventory is on the way to these centers, it's not available for sale. So you'll still see inactive out of stock, even if you already get your stuff checked in from the first center. But once it gets to each of these places, stuff will start to sell, and it'll get to the customer, and you'll start to make a lot of money. But especially when you're new on Amazon and you're just raring to get going, it can be a little frustrating. You will start to sell stuff in this initial shipment, but not all of your stuff is going to become available. So there's normally at least 2 waves of sales that I see. If this is my sales chart, everything will be pretty consistent. I'll send in the shipment, it gets to the first center, I'll have a big spike, it'll come back down to normal, and then it'll get to the rest of the shipments and I'll have another spike. Normally it's a little bit bigger, and then it'll kind of trickle out. This is going to confuse some people at UPS and Amazon. All right, next step, we're going to have to grab some labels from down here, the 4x6 inch labels, and transmit all the boxes over to Seller Central from Inventory Lab, and then go on to Seller Central to actually ship it out. Also, if you need any supplies and stuff like this, I have all of mine linked down in the description. It would support the channel if you buy anything from it, but as always, there's no pressure. So let's go ahead into Inventory Lab, and we're going to hit this button to transmit all boxes into Seller Central. And I've actually just gotten a little bit smarter and added this little end of the shipment ID here, that 19K9, to my boxes so that I know which shipment it is instead of just relying on where it's going, since all 5 of these boxes are going to the same place. So for box 1 in this shipment, it is 32 pounds, and we'll just add all the rest of this in. And after we transmit it, I'll show you where to go on Seller Central. All right, so these are submitted. I'm gonna head over into Seller Central real quick. So down here, we'll see all 4 of these shipments that we have working right now. All we'll have to do is click on work on shipment. And since these ones were transmitted a while ago, we shouldn't have too much to worry about, and everything should already be there. Yeah, so we can see the weight is already there. All we have to do is hit calculate here to see how much it's gonna cost. I'm guessing it's gonna be about $5, $6.10 charges. And we'll do that for all of these and then label them all up, and then we shall be done. It's a pretty simple process. The one thing to know is to let them know your printer type. Mine is thermal printing paper. You can also have 8x11, but since we're doing 4x6, it's going to print correctly. I just have to put the shipping date, which will be tomorrow, Thursday, and we'll print the labels. And I'll see you after I clean up to answer the last question. Alright, we're pretty clean. The unfortunate thing about being in the van is this is all just kind of got to stay by the door until we drop it off tomorrow morning. But luckily, it's not even 10 o'clock yet, by 2 minutes. In less than 4 hours, we got about $1,300 of inventory profit-wise out the door. Let's get on to this last question real fast. And it comes from J. Rowe, who's always on the channel. It said, I was wondering if you ever had a box delivered to the warehouse but never received or checked in. If so, a video explaining the reconcile process and doing a tutorial would be super awesome. Honestly, I don't really know a lot beyond kind of what I already talked about, which kind of makes this a bad finale. I should have actually gone through and figured out which questions I should answer in what order. But I have had a box not delivered, not a whole shipment. If I didn't have a whole shipment delivered, I'd probably have to go through UPS, make a claim through them. But in terms of just the box, I just sent in the receipts for most of the things that were in the box. I don't even think it was everything, and they just figured that they didn't find the box after they had checked it in. But if you have any other questions for my next shipment video, I think this is probably how we'll end up doing those videos, unless you have a really big question, and we'll just do a whole video on that question. If you're still here, it means you probably supported me a decent bit, and I really appreciate your support, especially over this month if I do end up posting this in December, because it's been insane. A lot more work than I thought, and if you haven't seen yesterday's video, check that out over here, and I'll see you tomorrow.